guys, and welcome to Elk Don't Exist, the podcast, a comedy and humor forward hunting podcast. I wanted to create the podcast about hunting that was more entertaining, less tips and tricks and tactics, and just more like sharing campfire stories with your buddies. So welcome. I'm very glad to have you. This podcast, as always, is brought to you by OnX Maps, OnX Hunt specifically. As some of you know, I just killed my first ever bull with a bow. It took me 12 years. That's where the whole Elk Don't Exist mantra and mindset and brand came from, is how freaking difficult it is to kill an elk with your bow. OnX was pivotal on this elk hunt, especially the LiDAR feature. If I heard bugles in the morning or glassed elk, depending on time of day, I was able to open my maps and get a really good estimate to where those elk were either going or coming from based on LiDAR. It's like your topo map with infinitely more detail. You can see little benches where they might be bedding and this, that, and the other thing. OnX rules, I don't have to tell you twice. Sign up, get Elite, you get all 50 states, you get amazing gear deals. Big shout out to OnX for making this podcast possible. We're also brought to you by Tricer. Tricer makes lightweight glassing systems, bipods. I have their new bipod right here. And I have had this in my hands since the first prototype back in early March. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's 15 ounces. You get a set of long legs, which go from 8 inches to 30 inches. So you're completely covered prone to sitting, kneeling. One throw lever for your cant and 360 degrees of panning. You get a Picatinny quick release plate as well as an Arca quick release plate out of the box. Rubber feet, set of short legs, metal claw feet. It's infinitely adjustable. It covers dang near every shooting position except for standing. I love this thing. And you can use code dillonsucks, my favorite code ever, or EDE, that's Elk Don't Exist, phonetically. Is that how you say that? EDE10 saves you money and supports the channel on one of these. My camera and everything else is set up on Tricer tripods. When you have something that makes glassing more fun, when you have a tool that makes glassing more doable, you find more animals, and if you're not me, you kill more animals. So huge shout out to Tricer. They were my first ever sponsor. I'm ride or die for those guys. That's code dillonsucks or EDE10. Saves you 10% off your order. We are also brought to you by Lacrosse Footwear. Big shout out to Lacrosse. I love these guys. I have been using their ES boot even before I was sponsored. I'm not a big fan of buying a $500 pair of boots that are still going to last 2 to 3 years at the most. I've always been buy a $200, $250 boot, lasts you 2 years, and I just consider it an extra hunting expense. This is the ES, extremely lightweight. This is the boot I wore all 2024 season, well over 100 miles on these things, and they're still going strong. Waterproofing is great. They're very comfortable. No boot fits everyone's foot the same, so please get out to your local sporting goods store. Almost dropped it on my face there. Get out to your local sporting goods store, try these on. If they work for you, man, these things are unreal. Huge shout out to Lacrosse for sponsoring the channel. All right, we'll do one more ad and then we'll get into this podcast. We are brought to you by TUO. Everyone out there is making amazing Western hunt apparel. TUO is a newer company, but they've been in the apparel game for over 100 years. And this is their foray into Western hunting apparel. And a little over 2 years ago, they reached out and said, hey, do you want to wear our stuff? And I said, I have to absolutely love it because I'm, wearing $18,000 in KUIU right now. And if it's not better or equivalent to my KUIU, it makes no sense for me to wear this. They sent me a bunch of stuff, and man, I've been loving it. It sits at a price point just under the big dogs, and I've been really impressed. And I don't get paid a dime from TUO, just so you guys know. I just really like it. It fits my brand better, being able to provide weekend warriors and blue-collar everyday guys a Western hunting apparel system that isn't going to completely drain their bank account. It's still very quality and still expensive, but not quite at that upper echelon price point. And I've had people from other clothing companies put this merino on that I'm holding now, and they say, man, if I didn't have to wear our stuff, I would be wearing this. This is my favorite merino I've ever worn. And this is their new Kinetic Merino 150 hoodie. It's super lightweight, but gives you a hoodie for those early mornings. You need a little extra heat. This came in clutch on my elk hunt. I was wearing a 150 base layer, and then when it was really cold in the mornings, I'd put this 150 hoodie on top of that, shed it once I get up to the mountain where I want to start glassing or whatever. And it's the softest, best merino I've ever put on. I don't know how they did it, but it's phenomenal. dillonsucks code at tuogear.com saves you like 25%. So on already gear that's already an approachable price point, you can save 20 or 25% with dillonsucks. If you're looking for a terrific layering system for Western hunting, give TUO a shot. You won't be disappointed. All right, we've got some more ads coming later, but let's get into the podcast today. It's a solo episode because I just killed my first elk. Also, shout out to everyone watching on Instagram Live. Someone's, Chame, my good buddy, said, look at that rack. Look, that's my first bull. The wide angle lens makes it look way bigger than it is. I have whitetails that score bigger than that one. But shout out to everyone on Instagram Live. I'm going to get into the story of this elk hunt and then answer some questions and talk about some stuff that you who follow me on Instagram, you posted some great questions. So we'll get into that later. But let's get right into the story of how I killed my first ever archery elk. One thing that was different for me this year was I spent all of my time in one area. And that was a tip I got from my buddy Cody Rich, who has helped me a ton with consistently finding elk. But as you know, it's one thing to find elk. It's another thing entirely to kill them. Like I said, I've been trying to kill bull elk with my bow for 12 years and got really close. I shot a couple bulls I was never able to find. One of those was definitely a bad shot. The other two, I couldn't have walked up and pointed to a better spot to shoot that elk. One of them, I hit it a little back. Blood was good and made the rookie mistake of tracking it too early, bumped it from its bed, looked for 2 weeks, never found it. So I've been close. And just fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line, over and over and over again. And coming into this year, I was bouncing spots all the time in years past. And this year I wanted to just commit to one spot where I knew elk hung out year round, and kind of got lucky figuring that spot out, finding elk there during rifle season, which finding in my area of the woods in the northwest corner of Montana, there's a reason no one burns points or spends vacation days to come over here to hunt elk. Our elk numbers aren't great. Everything's really thick. It's really hard to find them. Where you can find elk, it's hard to find spots to actually glass for them, especially during rifle season. Everyone goes east. And I just had it like kind of purposed in my heart that like, dude, I got to figure out, I don't have a ton of free time. I don't have a ton of vacation days, at least in the past, to get out east and travel and drive 6, 8, 10 hours to where there's more elk. I've got 2 young boys at home that are to the age where when they find out it's hunting season, they start crying because dad's going to be gone a lot. Like there's all kinds of dynamics. I just don't have the luxury. My first gen Toyota Tundra has 216,000 miles on it and some little hiccups going on. I don't have the luxury of just going and spending weeks at a time over in eastern Montana, where I have heard and been told there's a lot more elk. So this year, or last year rather, I just ended up finding, I think I glassed over 200 elk, cows and spikes during rifle season in this area last year. Just could not find a legal bull to save my life. They were all the way at the top of the mountain, and it's a 3,500 vertical foot climb in the snow, in the cold. It's just difficult to catch up to those legal bulls up there. But with all the cows I saw, and in my experience, wherever those cows are, they really don't move a lot year to year, at least in this thicker, more timbered country. They'll be in different elevations on the mountain throughout the year, but I'm seeing them there when I'm hunting bears. I'm seeing the cows there when I'm scouting in June, you know? So in my mind, it was like, well, let's go hunt during archery where the cows are, and eventually the legal bulls have to come and find them. And from the first day I went up there, which was September the 8th, that's what I was seeing. And there were September the 8th, first light was hearing bugles already. I called in, I heard a bugle September 8th, maybe like 200-300 yards ahead of me. Waited, made another like couple cow calls just to try to pinpoint with my ears where exactly he was. He gave me a haphazard bugle. I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna sneak up the hill and make a play on him. And by the time I had made that decision, he had come in silent already. And I took 2 steps and heard him bark and blow out of there. Then another bull was bugling. I was in elk that entire day. Ended up having the bull I ended up killing a week later. On September the 8th, I had that bull within 50 yards 3 different times with no shot. So that was really, really cool. I got footage of him, which I'll show here. And had that bull within 50 yards multiple different times. I was full draw on him, and I couldn't get him to stop because he had seen something or felt something he didn't like. And the hardest part about that was calling while solo. And everyone knows it's very hard to call elk in solo. I've done it in the past. Usually you can trick them and they'll come right to your setup when there's a hot cow in the area. But this year I was really trying to cow call or bugle or whatever, and then move to where, and then be quiet and to where I'd expect that bull to come in silent and try to wind me. And I just couldn't get it to happen on the 8th. I started getting a little too quick. I started over calling, which is my kryptonite for sure, is just over calling, walking through the woods and calling. Oh, there's no elk here. Take 2 more steps and blow a bull out that's coming in silent. So this year I wanted to be a lot more patient. I wanted to spend a lot more time behind the glass. And I just got so excited on the 8th that I forgot my whole game plan, like going into it. So I hunted that area the 8th, the 10th, and 11th. 8th, 9th, and the 10th and 11th. That's right. So I spent 4 days up there. And in those 4 days, I really figured out what the herd was doing. They're coming onto the south and western slope in the morning, like before the sun comes up. And by the time it's legal shooting light, they're already heading back to bed. And figured out where they were bedding, thanks to OnX. Ended up walking right up to their beds on September the 8th that morning, just by looking at OnX and figuring out where the heck are they bedding here. Found a little bench covered in alders, went up there, found their beds, and I was able to stay in elk that entire day. So all that, I hunted the same area so that I could really figure out what these elk do. This main herd, right? What they do day to day. And this main herd was like 20, 30 cows, 10 plus calves, with the satellite bull, this 5x5 that I ended up killing. He was kind of taking charge of it. But what I noticed, and I saw him one time after my camera died, of course, I had the herd bull, just a tank, a giant for me. Big old 6-point, maybe 7x6, huge, wide, heavy, nasty, gnarly bull. I had him at 80 yards. On September the 8th as well. But that was very interesting to me. So I saw the satellite bull, and there was another one that I never saw, but he was always kind of right in the herd, and the herd bull. And the herd bull and the satellite bull were still buddies, still with cows around him. And it was like the herd bull was just kind of biding his time and letting the herd bull, it's like they hadn't figured out herd dynamics quite yet on the 8th. So I knew if I keep going back here to the same unit and being very patient, watching, glassing, that maybe I'd have another chance at these elk, because lots of people hunt this spot, but few of them hunt it correctly, I think. Everyone stays down low. All these bulls are in the top third of the mountain. They haven't come down yet. But I noticed the same thing during rifle season. So I feel like I had a little bit of a advantage, I guess. So I just kept doing the same thing, reminding myself every morning as I was making that awful hike up the steep, nasty knife ridge, patience, patience, patience. Don't overcall. These elk are talking. Don't give yourself away. Don't let them pinpoint your position immediately. Get a handle of them, sneak in, and make a play. So the 9th, 10th, 11th that I was hunting up there, I had multiple bulls come in silent, and the main herd was pushed over a couple ridges, I think, or they had got some hunting pressure, and they were more quiet. And multiple times, I'd do a couple cow calls where like, man, there's got to be, the elk has to be in here. I smell them. Nothing's talking, so let's sit down and eat. 30 minutes goes by, a bull barks from my downwind side because he came in silent. So I'm like, okay, if they're not talking, they're still in here, they're just going to come in silent. So put that in the back of my brain to once again slow down. If I make a calling sequence, I'm going to move up to where I think they might circle downwind. Got really close to elk every day I was up there. The coolest thing, also on September 8th, I had a calf at 4 yards, which I got on video. Just calf chirping. I got into the herd, heard the calves chirping, and I heard Cliff Gray talk about if you hear calves chirping, just cow chirp back or calf chirp back at them. Man, those calves, excuse me, come screaming in, and oftentimes the bull will kind of follow behind and come in silent just to check out what's going on. And had a calf come screaming into 4 yards. Have great footage of her. And then about 2 seconds after that, my camera dies, and I had another calf come right into a foot away. I swear to God, a foot. It was me, my backpack on the ground, just to my left, and that calf was on the other side of my backpack. I've never been that close to an elk before. I felt like I could have scooped her up and took her home, and she was very cute, and I kind of wanted to. She was just sitting there staring me in the face, chirping at me. She sniffs my backpack, and the calves and... Dude, it was awesome. I've never been that close to elk in my life. And then that's when I got the footage of the bull I ended up killing through the Mountain Mag Digiscope system. Soon as I was making those calf sounds and the calf started freaking out and running around, I watched about 300 yards away that bull come out on a logging road, sprint over and just stand above this bull and just watch everything go down below him. There was cows everywhere. It was crazy, man. So on the 13th, my plan was the same. I went up the same ridge and instantly started hearing bulls bugle before light, or right at first light. And it sounded like they were a couple hundred yards away on the opposite ridge in where I knew they would bed sometimes. So I'm like, okay, instead of just running over there, because they're talking by themselves, I'm just going to sit here and wait till I can glass them, wait till I can actually see them, and then go make a play on them. And that's what I did. And everything in me wanted to call and try to pull them across. But I knew if there's cows in there and there's multiple bulls started, their bugles were more fired up. And they were talking, the bulls were talking to one another. And it's like, okay, the rut is really starting to pick up here. And I think the herd dynamics are starting to change a little bit. And bulls are starting to actually fight for cows. So I was like, okay, this is awesome. And I can use this to my advantage if I am patient. So I sat on this kind of more open south ridge and knew they were bugling across into the north facing stuff and that other kind of steep knife ridge where they would bed sometimes before going up to the top to bed for the day. So everything in me wanted to overcall, to try to bring them in across this open face. And I knew that would be kind of difficult. So I just bid my time, and it wasn't until about 9:30, 9:45 in the morning. So this is at least 2 hours after, 2 hours from 2 hours from opening light, from shooting light, where I finally see just the butt of an elk from 800 yards away, stand up, shuffle around, and bed back down. Really bright blonde body, so I knew that was a bull. And then that's exactly where I thought they might be bugling from. And I know they go over that ridge onto the next face. So I figured they might go over there. And if they do, that's a huge advantage because I can call from this side and then sneak up to where I can see down the next ridge and just shut up and wait for something to come in. So I get over there. I do exactly that. I make a calling sequence from behind some trees, about 100 yards from where I saw that bull bed. And then I went up the hill and just sat and waited. And about a couple minutes later, everything in the next drainage just blew up. There was at least 3 bulls, maybe 4, screaming at each other from different points on the ridge. They were all, I could hear calves chirping. And they were getting more and more angry. They were chuckling at each other, and I didn't have to make a peep. And I think that helped me a lot. So I waited until they were really fired up. And then when I thought maybe this closest bull I can get to come investigate, I would make a calf-cow sequence. There was enough bulls in the drainage. I didn't want to start screaming at this bull right away. So I just stuck to cows and calves and just played off the excitement of the bull. And once he started really responding, like every couple cow calls, and he bugled again, and he either turned to face me or he was indeed closer. I did one more cow-calf sequence. My wind was starting to blow up at the time, and I was about on the same level as this bull. So I went up about 100 yards up the hill, got to where I could see kind of down the next ridge, and then I shut up and I waited. Even if the elk weren't talking, I did not make another peep. I just sat there and waited. And my idea was I just want, if I'm down here, right, wind's blowing up, bull's here, just maybe 20 yards above me and maybe 100 yards, and he's getting closer. At least it sounds like he is. I'm going to call from down in this pocket where he has to come up over the ridge to investigate. Meanwhile, I'm going to go up 100 yards, 80 yards, 100 yards, and try to get in the middle of where he's going to come and try to get scent from what he heard and come investigate. And I'm going to shut up and move up here. And it worked out flawlessly. So I sat there and waited for 10 minutes and just forced myself, do not call, shut up. The bulls are still talking. This one's definitely getting closer. And I just forced myself to be quiet. And I think in years past, I would have gotten too desperate too quickly, started overcalling, desperately trying. I wasn't going to desperation call this year. And that was the main thing in my mind. I wasn't going to get impatient, and I wasn't going to overcall and just pinpoint my position, especially being solo. So I sat up there, moved positions to where I could see. I had great shooting lanes and just waited. And sure enough, within 10 minutes, calf comes ripping through where I thought they might, right at a trail that was 40 yards down below me. Wind was perfect. She came through, looks up, and you could tell she's looking for other calf. She's looking for cows. She bolts through. And then at this time, I have an arrow nocked camera facing where that cow was. I moved it over. And 30 seconds later, I see antlers coming through the brush. I'm like, here we go. He comes out and stops behind a tree, and all I have is basically like an inch or two behind the vital V right here and forward. And he looks the other way. I go to full draw, and everything in me, guys, wanted to blast that trigger. I'm shaking from adrenaline, right? And everything in me wanted to go, you can make that shot. Punch it through at 40 yards into this gap that big. Finger was on the trigger, ready to slap it, not pull through like I had been practicing. Everything in me wanted to just force it. And there was multiple times where I'm ready to just slap the trigger like an idiot. And in years past, I probably would have. And I don't know what it was. Something in me was just like, no, wait, he has no idea you're here. So I'm at full draw for a full minute. He rips out this awesome screaming bugle. And I have it all on camera. It's so sick. He starts walking. My mouth is so dry, I can't cow call to stop him. I almost blasted the trigger again as he was walking. And I'm so proud of myself for staying calm and patient. He finally comes out and stops. I shoot for 40, which he had come up to like 32 at this point. I shoot for 40 and I'm shaking so bad. I don't know if it's the range. I don't know if it's me, but I actually squeeze, shot goes off, whack. And what happened was with the angle, I hit the top of both lungs and hit the bottom of a vertebrae in his spine. So he flops down and he's trying to get up. I run over there without range, and I can't believe this is happening. Feels like a dream. I send another one way over his back into town, basically. Force myself to slow down again. He's not going on anywhere. Range, he's at 30 yards. I draw back, and now I'm perfectly calm. He's directly facing away from me. He turns slightly, and I put one back here. It comes out his front shoulder, both lungs through his heart, and see him kind of just go and stumble, and then I back out for 30 minutes, and he ended up dying right there within seconds. And yeah, couldn't believe it, guys, but my patience, which I don't have, which I struggle with greatly, and I just knew this year, like, I've got to change something. And it was the calling sequence down here, knowing he's going to come in above me to try to win me. Don't stay here. Call, bust up, and put yourself between where you called and where you think he's going to come through. And it worked like a charm. It never happens like that. Bull died within seconds. And then I started panicking because I'm by myself. I can't get a hold of any friends. My main hunting buddies are all hunting 3 hours from me. So I had to get to work right away on the bull. He died right in the sun. It was 80 degrees at that time, 11:45 or 11:45. I shot him at like 10:50, walked up to him at 11:45 or so. He died right in the hot sun, and it was, I'm solo. I got to get this meat cooled down quickly. My buddy Alan, Traveling Timbers, he makes amazing art. Drove all the way up from Libby to help me pack, so big shout out to him. But can't believe it, guys. 12 years of trying to kill a bull. Just made some little tactic changes, and it just happened to work. I got extremely lucky, very fortunate. I mean, these elk all winded me multiple times on September 8th, and they still were in this drainage. But that's what ended up killing the bull, is me not punching the trigger, which I'm very prone to do and have done in the past, being very patient, waiting for my shot opportunity, even despite the nerves and shaking and being full draw for a minute on the dot. Thank you, Lord, I was able to execute a good shot, follow up with another one, and he died within seconds. So freaking amazing. I get asked a lot, like, dude, you've killed 2 elk with your rifle now, and you finally killed a bull with your bow, like, the Elk Don't Exist brand is going to die. And no, dude, it took me 12 years to kill a bull with my bow. 12 years. Elk Don't Exist is a mindset. It's a reminder to take yourself less seriously. It's a reminder to yourself that this is really hard. And it doesn't matter how many guys you see kill bulls. It's all on our own individual journey. And for 90% of us, and I still include myself in this, I've killed 3 raghorns now. I am no expert elk hunter by any means. Anyone can get lucky. Anyone can figure this out. The coin can flip for you at any time. And if it can happen to me, it can absolutely happen to you. So just amazing. Thank you guys for your nice words on Instagram Live. I really appreciate you. Yes, exactly. Camo in the wild. Stay flexible on your methods. Big time. Just because you challenge bugle a bull into 20 yards last year doesn't mean that's going to be the play. I barely bugled at all this year. It was almost always cow-calf, reading. And I've called in really good bulls for buddies before. And I've learned a little bit over the years of how to kind of read a bull and figure out what are they doing? Are they bedded? What's that bugle sound like? Is he talking to his cows? If you can study that and figure that out, that gives you a huge advantage. But at the end of the day, doing this solo feels next to impossible. But if it can happen for me, man, it can happen for anyone. I'm obviously thrilled, over the moon. My buddy Mark built a walk-in cooler on a trailer. I posted a video about it on my Instagram. We call it Mark's Meat Wagon. It's parked in front of my house right now, and it's been keeping my elk meat at 35 degrees since Sunday night. And so this is day 5 of just aging and cooling that meat. Man, I just feel so fortunate. There's so many of you that have been, yes, laughing at me and sharing in the joke, but also just so encouraging and inspirational. And man, I just thank you guys so much. And the goal is, man, what if I can get really good at this and now I can start helping other people get their first elk, or take people to get their first elk, or call for more people, because that's really what I love doing. But if it can happen for me, man, it can happen for anyone. So let's do a couple quick, let's talk, shout out some sponsors real quick. And then you guys send in some really great questions and things you wanted me to talk about. Let's talk about Maven Optics. I switched everything over to Maven Optics about 1.5 years ago, and I love them. As I tell people, if you have Swarovski money, hell yeah, dude, buy a Swarovski. If you don't, high-end Japanese glass versus high-end European glass, my eye can't really tell the difference, if I'm being honest for you. This is 1/3 of the price. Maven stuff is 1/3 of the price of Swarovski, and like half of the price of some of other companies' higher-end optics. And I want to specifically shout out this. This is the new Maven M2. This is a monocular, and I never thought I'd ever be a monocular guy. And they sent this to me. This is their high-end Japanese glass. It's $500, which is an awesome price point for something like this. And it is a 12 by 50 monocular. But I think of it more as a mini spotting scope. So this stays in my truck, and when I'm out glassing, you know, ag fields for whitetails before they go up to public land or whatever, this is on my window mount, and I can get great footage through this with my digiscope, or just glass with this instead of having to have my like big 18 by 50 binos on a window mount. This is really, really light and really, really short form factor. So, but I also use this because for elk hunting, when I wanted to stay light, I used my 9 power binos instead of my 12s often. And when I was sitting down to glass and I wanted to reach out a little more, I would just keep this little guy in my hip belt, and I put a Tricer NS4 little aluminum Arca clamp on it, so I can throw it in my tripod. And then I have a little tiny mini spotting scope if I want a little bit more reach. Yeah, and it weighs like nothing, especially compared to carrying a big spotting scope or another pair of high power binoculars. I could just keep this in my hip belt, take it out, plant it on my Tricer tripod, and this thing worked out great. But the rifle scopes are amazing. I shoot the RS 3.2, and yeah, for the money, they're a direct-to-consumer company with still a world-class warranty. But the build quality is really good. The glass quality is amazing, and it's a fraction of the price of other guys because these are not in retail stores, and that saves you a whole bunch of money on really, really high-end glass. So check Maven out. Big fan. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast and just sponsoring the lifestyle. Also, huge shout out to Barnes Bullets, Barnes Ammunition. This is the new Harvest collection. I just got my Seekins 6.5 PRC, my 7th, 8th, and 9th shots. So my first group out of the gun after zeroing the rifle, shot a 1/2-inch group. And the coolest thing about Barnes, they're known for their monolithic solid copper bullets, but they wanted to create something that was more of a lead core bullet, rapid expansion for, you know, thin-skinned, medium-skinned game. Which I really like. So I got this 6.5 PRC from Seekins as my dedicated deer rifle, something with really low recoil. I'll take this bear hunting, but out of a brand new barrel. With the other thing with this is it's $40 to $45 a box in all the most popular calibers. So it's very affordable, and I'm still getting 1/2-inch groups out of it. Crappy shooter, brand new gun, brand new barrel. I've been super impressed with these, and I can't wait to try them out during deer season. So shout out to Barnes for sponsoring the podcast. And also shout out to Seekins Precision. They sent me the PH3, and I'm doing a really cool project this fall where I'm taking brand new hunters out for their first ever deer hunt. I'm so excited about it. I pitched that idea to Seekins kind of on a whim. It was a 5-minute phone call, and they said, hell yeah, we'll send you 3 brand new rifles for these 3 hunters you're going to take out. They've been amazing to work with. Shout out to Maddie from Seekins and Sarah from Seekins. But yeah, just got the new Seekins PH3. It has a 60-degree bolt throw. It's a $1,900 gun, and I'm convinced for that price point, this is far and away the best off-the-shelf rifle that money can buy. It has a complete M-LOK forend, so any kind of attachment you want to put, Picatinny Arca, it's all M-LOK on the forend, 60-degree bolt throw. The Picatinny rail for your scope rings is built right into the action, so you don't have to worry about a pick rail coming loose over time. The bolt just wants to close. It's like spring-loaded, so as you shut it, it just wants to close. You can run that bolt super hard, super fast. I got it in a 20-inch barrel, and so impressed. Half-inch gun before even breaking it in, before trying other ammo. I'm just through the moon. If you're saving up for a rifle and you got $2,000, man, you'd be hard pressed to beat Seekins, I think. Their reputation is glowing. Their customer service is world class, and they don't have an accuracy guarantee. They have a satisfaction guarantee, which I really love. So if half an inch is not satisfactory to you, you can send it back and they're going to take care of you. They're going to figure out if the gun has a problem or not, which you just never hear of Seekins rifles coming back anyways. They are world class. They're the real deal. Check them out. Put a Maven scope on top of it. You'll be very, very happy. Also, shout out to Shoot Banish. Banish Suppressors. They sent me the Banish 30 V2 for this deer rifle build. And it's lighter than the V1. It's somehow quieter than the V1. If you've never shot with a suppressor, don't buy anything else until you put a suppressor on your gun. It makes it more or less hearing safe, just you don't get that concussive blast. For me, a guy that struggled with a flinch for many, many years, it helps me make better shots because I'm not anticipating that loud concussive blast. And it takes away 30-40% of recoil. So enhanced shootability, the quietness. I mean, everyone's going towards suppressors. Don't wait. If you go through Silencer Central right now, they're covering your tax stamp too. There's never been a better time. Don't buy 3 new hunting jackets. Save your money and get a suppressor and thank me later. So huge shout out to those guys. I think that's everyone. And of course, elkdon'texist.com. I wore the black on black Elk Don't Exist hat, and I'm convinced it's lucky. I was wearing that this entire season, and I will never be hunting without it again. Remind yourself to take yourself less seriously, have more fun. It's a great conversation starter, and it supports me a ton. That's how I make the majority of my money, is through elkdon'texist.com. My profit margins are extremely small while still being able to offer very quality pieces of gear. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme for me. This is more of a way to build brand awareness, to invite others to join this club of mediocre hunters that just want to have more fun and learn how to be more successful. So elkdon'texist.com. All right. Shout out to our sponsors. Hello to everyone watching on Instagram. I've got some great questions from you guys. I'm going to bring them up here, and we'll do that for this last half of the show here, of the episode. First question, how to get started in hunting? Man, that's a great question and something I'm very passionate about, because usually when you watch YouTube videos or something, hey, we're taking this 12-year-old kid out for his first hunt, and he's always wanted to hunt and just never got the chance to, and that's awesome. But there is so many these days, 25-year-old to 40-year-olds and higher, that have never hunted but want to start getting into the lifestyle. And my advice for you is YouTube can be a great resource, but it can also get overwhelming, because I've talked to a ton of people on the DMs or in person, meeting people at trade shows, where they want to get into hunting, but these YouTube episodes of people killing giants and doing these insane adventures, it just feels so daunting. And oh gosh, I need to spend like $10,000 on gear. And my heart is trying to show, especially with this project I'm doing in the fall, is just to show you can get a really relatively inexpensive rifle that'll shoot great. You can take hunter safety and you can buy a deer tag, and in most states, go learn how to hunt a deer on public land. And that is a great place to start. If you make friends or have a friend that hunts, ask him to take him under your wing. If he's a good friend and he's a good hunter and good conservationist, he is going to jump at the chance to get the opportunity to teach you, to take you out, this, that, and the other thing. If you have any questions, you can always talk to me. I don't give the best advice. You guys know I'm not the best hunter in the world, but I'm always happy to help people get started. You do not need thousands of dollars in camo. You do not need thousands of dollars in optics. All you need is a rifle that shoots well, that you can put some time behind, take hunter safety in your state, and find a tract of public land, or ask a buddy if you can shoot a deer off their private land, and start there. You can learn so much through YouTube. You can learn so much through talking to your favorite hunting creators. A lot of them will happily take the time to give you some tips and tricks. And I'm so excited for you to just get started. Please feel free to reach out to me. There's a lot that goes into this. If you can find a mentor, that is far and away the best. But me and the buddies I hang out with in this hunting space, they're more than excited to give tips and help you do some research for you. So don't be afraid to reach out. My buddy Joe asked, what are the Jaguars' chances of winning the Super Bowl? Look, Joe, I love you to death, buddy. Obviously, go Seahawks. I would say, and just for you, I will give the Jaguars a 100% chance of winning the Super Bowl. I'm rooting for you, buddy. Mr. Andrews asked, and if you guys have questions on Instagram Live, feel free to ask them. Or if you want to roast my beard, that's fine, but I will block you. I won't. I get it. I know what I am. I know what this is. Some learnings on how to find elk if you're hunting a state area new to you. I be wandering. I am not the guy to ask. I've hunted out of state one time or twice, once for deer, and I had my friend Samong basically showing me the ropes and putting me in spots. I guess the one big game hunt I did out of state was in Arizona. My twin brother had a cow elk tag in a really beautiful unit, public land. There was hippie college kids hiking around while 30 people with cow tags were there trying to kill elk. It was wild. But what we learned on that, tons of glassing, tons and tons and tons of glassing, and then putting on the miles and just find elk, figure out where elk are. And that's what we did. It took us 3 days to, boots to the ground, miles and miles a day, figuring out where the elk were. And once you find elk, then you can try to put together a game plan. And that's what worked for us. So that's the only advice I have for you, man. I'm not the guy to ask this kind of stuff, but the advice I've gotten is just go freaking find elk, sprint if you have to, cover ground in the truck if you have to, call Fish, Wildlife, and Parks for tips. At least figure out what elevation they like to be this time of year. Are they really focused on water? What's the conditions like? And then just miles and miles and miles and miles. That's the only advice I have for you. No one should be asking me elk hunting tips at this point. What's your first meal using your AI elk meat? That's hilarious. After I butcher it, I don't touch any of it till it sits in the freezer for a month. I have found that the enzymes in the meat continue to break down even after hanging it, even after freezing it. It gets better and better. So I wait a month, and then I have like this something to look forward to. And always my first meal is elk carpaccio, which is extremely, extremely cold piece of elk backstrap. You slice it paper thin and cover a plate with it, completely raw, big, thick, coarse salt, arugula, sliced thinly sliced shallots, Parmesan cheese, and then a lemon vinaigrette, and you eat it raw. That's always my first meal. It's always my favorite. That, or I'll make a tartare, and then of course, get some steaks on the grill, medium rare, butter basted, can't go wrong. But carpaccio is always my go-to first meal. Let's see. Hunting stories. I have lots of hunting stories. Lots that I've messed up on. I'll probably save that for another episode. I'll share a quick one this year. My 7 PRC, I've been spending so much more time at the range. And it was snowing early bear season, so I went to the range just to verify my 0 and then smashed a bunch of rocks at 700 yards, was feeling so confident. About an hour later, found a black bear and completely whiffed him at 350 yards. And then you watch the footage back, and I frickin' punched that trigger like it stole my wallet. Countless examples of me doing stuff like that. So lots of hunting stories I can get into later. Balsamic vinaigrette works well to remove the gamey flavor in mule deer. Someone just said that on Instagram. I don't find mule deer to be gamey. I don't even like the word gamey. It's just what it tastes like. It's like this dried salami tastes nothing like chicken. Yes, because it's two different types of meat. So I've learned to enjoy what people would call gamey. I like that flavor. I've shot one mule deer, and it tasted just as good as my whitetail. It was fork tender, balsamic vinaigrette. I will have to try that sometime. I'm not a huge fan of marinating wild game, but I will try that one at some point. What else? Explain how gummy nerd clusters are the devil. Funny, I actually thought about this one for a little bit. As you know, I'm a Christian man. I've been following Jesus since 2009. Some years very well, most years very poorly, but that's what grace is for. Allowing God to continually, day by day, change your heart, change your desires, make you a more loving and patient and understanding person. Gummy nerd clusters. Why are gummy nerd clusters the devil? Here's why. Because those first 10, there's no better candy on earth. And it sucks you into thinking every bite is going to be as good as that first one. You get to like that 30th Nerds Gummy Cluster, you feel sick. It's not doing what it did for you in the first place. And here's why they're like the devil, because that's exactly how sin is. That first couple months of living in sin, man, it is sweet. Man, it is awesome. It's a guilty pleasure. Oh, this is tremendous. I love this. And eventually it just makes you sick, makes you regretful, makes you hungry for something substantial spiritually. So that's why nerds clusters are like the devil. They trick you, man, into eating the whole bag, and then you just regret everything. And I will die on that hill. Congratulations on your first bull. Thank you so much. I still can't believe it. I'm very undeserving, and I just feel very, very grateful and happy, and still in disbelief. Why are mule deer fanatics the hipsters of the hunting industry? That's a great question. I don't know how to handle that. I get made fun of a lot for living in the West and specifically targeting whitetails. The only reason I do that is because that's what I grew up doing. And whitetail is the only thing I can have consistent year after year success with, is finding big, mature whitetail bucks on public land here in Montana. I would love to get into mule deer hunting. I keep finding good whitetails on public land, and I can't stop. Hipsters of the hunting industry, I don't know. I think there's the tactics of hunting mule deer are way different than hunting a whitetail. I don't know how to answer that, but it's very funny. I enjoyed your thoughts on the Charlie Kirk incident. Might be heavy after the elk story, though. Very true. And look, I'm an idiot who makes mediocre hunting jokes on the internet. So I don't have any groundbreaking things. I just think I would have reacted the same way if Joe Biden was assassinated. or Kamala, if someone on the far left got assassinated, I would have responded the exact same way with deep, heavy-hearted, what are we doing? What are we doing? In my opinion, billionaires and the uber elite run the country. And I'm not a conspiracy guy. I just think that's becoming evident. And all those people want is for us to be fighting amongst each other so they can come in and be the hero. They want us upset with each other, angry with each other. I see Christians thinking Democrats are our enemy, and that breaks my heart. And the only way we win is if we love each other and stop screaming at each other from opposite sidelines. That's what they want, and it's working. Don't fall into that trap. Some of you guys, like, all you ever post is political stuff, and the left is doing this, and the right is doing this, and cover-ups. And dude, it's poison for your soul. And if that's you, I implore you, take a break from the internet, delete Instagram off your phone, and go outside and just get a hard reset on your soul. It's poison. They want us at each other's throats. They want us fighting so that they can go and pass bills that don't benefit the people and only benefit themselves. Don't fall for it. You're smarter than that. If we don't learn how to love each other for having differing ideas, that's what makes America great. That's what we all wanted, was a big melting pot of ideas where everyone has freedom, right? If we can't love each other in spite of our differences, we lose, and we're going to lose more rights, and we're going to lose out on more money, and we're all going to be paycheck to paycheck looking for government to help us. So that's my thoughts on Charlie. No one on earth, unless you are a PDF file, in my opinion, no one on earth deserves to be murdered in front of their wife and children. I don't care if you hated Charlie or, YouTube told you what to think about him. On either way, he was a human. He said a bunch of stuff I don't agree with. Said a bunch of stuff I do agree with. But that's not what matters. And when people are saying, well, he said this and I didn't like it. So what are you saying? Good that he got killed in front of his two kids and they watched him die? Is that what we're saying? That should grieve you to your core regardless of how you felt about Mr. Kirk. And that's how I feel about it. Those are my thoughts. Love has to happen. And I would love to see less political, the left is this, the right is that. No, billionaires and the elite are this, and we are supposed to be on the same team. We all want the same thing. We want what's best for the country. We just have different ideas to go about it, regardless of what sliding scale on the political spectrum you have. And the world would be a lot better if we can love like Jesus did and trust him. So that's my thoughts on that. Not what do I know? I am a moron who makes dick jokes and talks about being bad at hunting. Montana whitetail tactics. Now, this is something I get really excited about because the last 7 years in a row, I've been able to kill a mature whitetail on public land. One of those was an immature deer, just had a good rack on him, was on private land. But regardless, tons of glassing, tons of scouting in the late winter and springtime. Some of the best advice I ever got was I was complaining about how many road hunters were up in this one unit in Montana. And there was an old timer at a bar who said, do you know why they're road hunting so often and they don't get out of the truck? I said, no, to enlighten me. He said, because someone's grandfather's uncle one year on that very road killed a giant whitetail or giant animal. And that word over generations passed and passed. And then another guy road hunted up there during the right time, killed another giant. So what he told me is when a area, unless it's dramatically changed through unforeseen forces, produces big deer, year after year after year, it has the nutrition. It's obviously got the cover where they can hide to grow mature bucks. If you find a big shed, if you find a big deadhead in an area, keep hunting that spot because it has in the soil what is needed to produce big, mature bucks. And I I've got 3 main whitetail hunting spots. They get absolutely hammered by hunters, but most guys just walk in behind a gate and hope to get lucky, whereas I've put the time in to figure out where do these deer go when they feel pressured? Where do they go to get water? Where do they go to feed? And yeah, that's what helps. So even on, shot the biggest whitetail of my entire life last year on opening day, and there was 5 other hunters 400 yards below me wandering around being crazy, and it just pushed all the big mature bucks into this back hidey hole where I find them and am able to kill them. So figure out where an area has grown big mature whitetail, and whether that's finding a big shed or a deadhead or seeing one in the summertime in velvet, whatever that is, get cameras up there, try to figure out where they like to hang out, and then get to a spot where you can glass and pick them up. That's my whitetail tactics, and it's working for me. Let's do a couple more. This is a good one. Talk about hunting by yourself, things you learn, how you learn, and at the speed you learn. The speed I learn very slowly. I'm very stupid. Year after year after year, I make the same freaking mistakes. What I love about hunting by myself, and I don't know if this is masochistic or not, I need an outlet in my life where I am forced to deal with what's going on up here. And I have just found hunting by myself, when it's quiet and boring and you can't just numb yourself on your phone, man, you gotta face some shit in your life. You are uncomfortably forced to look yourself in the mirror and fight your demons and face your demons. That's what I love most, more than hunting, killing, whatever. It's that side of it. Is I know this is going on in my brain, or this thing my wife does is pissing me off, but she's not doing anything wrong. So what nerve in me is that touching, and why? Oh, that's that thing I've been avoiding that's why I love hunting by myself. From a hunting standpoint of it, you can make your own decisions. And then if you fail, it's on you. And that's a lot easier than trying not to blame your hunting buddy, or instead of taking ownership, blaming your hunting buddy. So yeah, the most of the things I learn, I talked about it a lot in the first part of this episode. But most of the stuff I learn is really hard truths about myself. On the way up the mountain, I'm always praying like, God, I just want to be close to you today. Yes, give me an opportunity if it's your will. Help me to stay calm. Help me manage emotion. But show in me today where you want me to grow. And that's the best part about hunting by yourself. The actual hunting stuff, I make the same mistakes over and over again that I know I shouldn't do because I get desperate and I overcall and all that stuff. So amazing. Great questions, guys. Talk about the psychology of not choking on shot opportunities. I'm not the guy to answer this. My whole hunting, 20 years of hunting, is plagued with choking on shot opportunities, fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line. I don't know how to overcome that, to be honest with you. I have mantras I've said in my head. I have, don't shoot unless you're rock solid, and still trying to punch the trigger, and shooting when I know, like with the bow, taking poor shot choices in the past. Like when adrenaline hits and you're so excited and you're already like an emotional, charismatic, whatever kind of guy, man, I'm not the person to give you advice on how to beat that, because I don't know how to train for that. Some people run and their heart's beating fast, and that there's nothing. Adrenaline can cloud your judgment like nothing else. I don't know how to beat it. I would look to a guy like Joel Turner. I think he is great with trigger panic and that kind of stuff. I am not the guy to ask about that. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was prayer, where, like I said in my elk story, just wanting to force a shot in there and literally being like stopping myself on that trigger. And no. I don't know how I was able to do that this year and not years past, but it worked. Maybe it's just getting in those situations more and more. I don't know, but I am not the guy to talk about the psychology of not choking on shot opportunities. All I have done is choked on shot opportunities. And I'm sorry about that gesture. Okay. All right, we'll do two more. The hardest issues you ran into trying to get sponsors. Very good question, and I say the same thing. I never tried to get sponsors. Everything, I got very lucky. I got very connected. There's connections in there. People just that I looked up to, taking an interest in the content I was making, and then introducing me to people, and then talking. I have a sales background and 10 years in full-time vocational ministry. I know how to talk to people and sell an idea and sell what I'm doing. That helps. But don't go seek, if you're trying to do content, do it for the love of the game, because this is very difficult. It's hard to put yourself out there. Like, this is an unedited podcast, and I probably said so much stuff that makes me sound like a complete idiot, and that's just out there forever, you know? If I wasn't having so much fun with this and wasn't now able to pay my bills doing this, I would not even be on social media. People are nasty. Putting yourself out there is really difficult, and you just feel like you're showing your butthole like to millions of people sometimes. You feel completely exposed, like, oh God, I better never make a mistake. I better never say anything dumb. So if you don't like that thought, like, don't try to get sponsors. Don't try to do any of this content stuff. But yeah, like that's my advice to people though, is like, if you're having fun doing something, do it for the love of the game, because you enjoy making content, you enjoy making videos, you enjoy talking to people. And if you have a little niche that's a little bit different, there's enough like world-class killers out there, and they get paid really well, and they've got to kill big animals every year. But what they can't be is you. And that's all I've done, is be myself, make fun of myself, make jokes, make light of things, all while not trying to like bash on people, because that's too easy. So if you can find a little niche, it's amazing how many companies will just come knocking and try to work something out with you. So yeah, I haven't had any issues with sponsors, but I'm not desperately trying to scratch and claw for sponsors either. I got great advice early on. Don't take bad deals. Don't take bad gear deals. Like, hey, we'll give you 4 bow sights, but we need you to post about us 4 times a month. Disgusting. You're doing 20 hours of work for this company a month for 4 bow sights that you don't need, you know? And I just pulled that example out of my butt, so don't start speculating what bow sight did this. There's a billion contracts out there like that. If you create content and brands come knocking and you want to run contracts and stuff by me, I had the privilege of doing that, you know, with my buddy Shed Crazy and Cody Rich and many others, saying, hey, what do you think about this? And I had them straight up tell me, run for the hills, or hey, consider that, but word this into your contract, or whatever. I don't know. Just do, if you want to make content, don't get into it for money, because the hunting industry is notorious for paying extremely low if they pay at all. They're notorious for screwing over content creators and locking them into getting tens of thousands of dollars in photo and video in exchange for a product that you don't need. They're notorious for that. So just make content because you love it, or you want to teach somebody, or you have a unique perspective on things that you want to share with people. Do it because you love it, not because you think you could grab a sponsor. I didn't try for this. I was just being myself and stumbled into it, and I've learned as I go. And I'm very, very grateful and thankful. This is a great one. We'll end on this one. The bro code of sharing hunting spots, the do's and don'ts. This is a very hot topic. The bro code of sharing hunting spots. Dude, this one's tough because it's public land, right? Everyone's free to go where they want, but there is an ethical side to hunting spots because it's public, and because, like, here's my thing. I get to hunt 10 days to 1 with some of my friends. I have the luxury of getting more time out there, or I create the luxury of getting more time out there. I say no to everything. If you're getting married in September, I'm sorry, it's an immediate no. My joke I make is I'm not even going to attend my second wedding. Yeah. Shout out to my wife. I'm never leaving you, and if you leave, I'm going with you. If there's a birthday in September or peak rut in November, I'm just not going. Like, because this is the priority I've set for myself. I'm not coaching basketball. I'm not doing travel sports. I have tons of other hobbies. I'm not playing drums as much. Like, everything takes a back seat. Hobby wise, my family doesn't take a back seat necessarily. They do sacrifice a lot to allow me to be out there, but you get what I'm saying. I spend so much time as a shit hunter finding spots. The last thing I want to do is just take some unknown person up in there who I don't know. Are they going to tell everyone about this spot? Do they know like the underground? Like, do they know that you aren't really supposed to? Do they know the like unwritten rules? And I struggle with that because I don't want to gatekeep, but also because you work so hard for these spots, and millions of other hunters hunt these spots, but there's just something about like taking a friend there and then going there a week later and seeing your friend with someone else up there, or overhearing them say, hey, have you tried going to this exact creek drainage? Like, that is so shitty to me. I've brought this up to some friends before, and they're like, well, what is the point? I'm like, dude, I found this spot and I put so much effort in there. Don't bring someone I don't know up there who's going to then bring 3 friends who are then going to tell 10 friends. And then within a year's time, that spot sucks because everyone knows about it. You shut your mouth. There's some spots where we found as a group or in your core circle, Hunter X found this spot, took you there. And then they say finding a good hunting buddy is harder than finding a wife. And I think that's 1,000% true. There's still spots I just don't go into, even though I know if I asked, I could in a clear conscience. But I don't know. The do's and don'ts is, if you didn't find the spot, don't bring anyone else there. If you want to go in there, it goes a long way to call the person and be like, hey, dude, do you care if I go in and hunt this? Or is there a day you're going in? We can go in together. Definitely, I would say a hard don't is never bring a friend that isn't friends with your friend who found the spot. Don't bring that guy there without having a chat. Or if there's a spot you always go to as a group and people want to bring people outside of that group, it's got to be a group conversation first. In my opinion, communication is everything. This is tough. There's spots that I've been to one time and I know I could kill an elk up there, but I just don't go into because a buddy showed it to me. And that's how I was raised. That's how I was taught. I think that's how it should be. Now, granted, if your friend moves away, I think it's all fair game. But if you're in doubt, talk to the person. If you want to bring a friend on the elk trip this year, I think it warrants a group discussion. Hey, what do you think about this person joining us? And asking the entire group on this spot that was found, or that's how I feel about it. I think there is some really hard do's and don'ts. They're kind of unwritten. And also I would say give grace to new hunters who don't know that. Like, if you haven't explained that to them, don't get mad at them when they break the unwritten law. And don't write them off. Communicate through it. Remember, as hunters, I truly believe the more time we spend on the mountain, the more humble we should become. I don't think there's ever a time I could kill 10 elk over the next 10 years. And if you see me get arrogant, I want you to call me on it immediately. I think the more we hunt, the more humble we should become and the more kind we should become. There's something about being on the mountain that makes you feel very, very small. And if something is happening where you feel the opposite, you need to have a hard talk with yourself. If you go out there feeling like king shit and think you have all the answers and you're the best killer in the world, and you leave feeling anything but humble and just grateful for having the time to be able to go and do something that makes you feel free, and you're coming off the mountain not being deeply humbled, I think something is really wrong. So if we all could just approach hunting conversations like this with a little bit more humility, a little bit more grace, a little bit more understanding, I think that would go a long way as well. Awesome. There's lots more questions, but I think we'll end it there. Thanks everyone for tuning in on Instagram Live. Thank you guys so much for watching. Shout out to the sponsors, OnX Maps, Tricer, Lacrosse, TUO, Maven, Seekins Precision, Barnes Ammunition, Banish Suppressors, and of course, Elk Don't Exist.com. Thank you guys so much. And shout out to the OKest Hunter Network for scooping up our podcast. Means a lot to me. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. As always, elk don't exist. I don't care how many you've killed. They don't exist. I think I'm dreaming. I think this was all AI government projection. I love you guys. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.